1 in 8 Iraqi children die before their 5th birthday. 75% have simply stopped going to school since the US-led invasion. The war in Iraq has not only destroyed much of the country, but it threatens an entire generations of children to face the dark future of illiteracy. Welcome to Inside Iraq. I'm Jassim Azzawi. The war in Iraq has claimed the lives of tens of thousands of innocent children. Staying alive is a daily challenge for most Iraqi kids. Going to school is a rare privilege. Here is the story of one Iraqi girl.
Zahra Ali Muhammad is 10 years old. Since the US-led invasion of Iraq 3 years ago, going to school every morning has become a dangerous journey. She is still fortunate because many of her friends, some 70% of children in Iraq, had stopped going to school since the war erupted. She can no longer go to school unaccompanied by an adult. Most Iraqi parents now personally escort their children to school to ensure their safety. Her father, Ali Muhammad, is a secretary at a dental clinic. He insists Zahra continues going to school despite the increasing violence in the neighborhood. There are fewer students in class than before. Many Iraqi families fear for the safety of their children and prefer to keep them at home. Since the US invasion, 2 out of every 3 children have stopped going to school.
الأمريكان يسوون خراب بالعراق. قبل كانت أمان وهسه ماكو أمان.
Baghdad has become a dangerous city to live in, but life still has to go on for most people like Ali Muhammad and his family. After school, Zahra goes home accompanied by 2 classmates. Although these boys also probably need protection from the often unpredictable surge of violence in the city. Home is the safest place to be for Iraqi children. She's allowed to play with her friends, but only nearby under the watchful eyes of her parents.
فقدت عمتي وزوجها بانفجار.
Despite the grave and uncertain future, Ali Muhammad tries very hard to provide a normal life for his family so that Zahra could remain positive and keep her ambitions intact. As Zahra gets ready for bed to escape the harsh realities of life in Iraq, she wishes for one big dream to come true soon. Imran Garda for Inside Iraq, Al Jazeera.
Almost half of Iraq's 25 million populations are under 18 years old. So what does the future hold for them and for the prospect of development and reconstruction? To discuss these issues, I'm joined on the line by Ahmed Rushdi, a media consultant based in Baghdad, and from Amman, Jordan, by Roger Wright, Special Representative for Iraq from the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. Gentlemen, welcome to Inside Iraq. Ahmed Rushdi, let me start with you in Baghdad. Children are subjected to a lot of threats and attacks, but let me start with the teachers. Are they also attacked?
Yes. Well, actually, teachers now suffering from many things, especially the security situation as first. What's happening now that they are targets. They are also targets, not only because of the militia or the armed men, also by the parents that they didn't accept their children's results. They are also being threatened by them. And also, many of them, especially the professional one, leave Iraq, actually. Let's say about 60% of the teachers now not inside the schools because of the threat, because of the security situation. And also, many of them change their jobs according to the situation. You know, the economic situation also play a role inside the education.
Mr. Wright, you are in Amman, but is the UNICEF in Baghdad and is it working in Iraq?
Yes, UNICEF has always been operational. We've been working in Iraq and for Iraq for over 30 years now, despite the difficulties periodically that we needn't go into. We at the moment have more than 100 people working directly for projects which assist children, whether it's in education, health, or water and sanitation, but I'll focus on education. We're trying to enhance some of the schools, especially the primary schools, and ensure a transition as successful as possible from primary to secondary schooling. But I must admit we've been facing extreme difficulties in keeping ourselves operational and our ability to support the governments and the various governorates and districts in keeping the schools an attractive and safe place for children to attend and their parents to feel confident about sending their children.
How would you describe the level of cooperation between you and the Iraqi government? Are you getting any support?
Yes, but a qualified yes, in the sense that we have very close, cordial, working, constructive relations with the Ministry of Education at both the national central level and also at the directorate levels. We are more operational at those decentralized levels necessarily because we want to make sure that our program assistance has the most direct impact on the beneficiaries, which of course are the children. But we have experienced some difficulties in translating the goodwill and the resources that we have available into program impact for the beneficiary children.
Ahmed Rushdi, chaos is affecting Iraqi children's attendance. Has sectarianism reached also the schools? Are we seeing schools being transferred from one district to the other, the Shiites going to a Shiite school and the Sunnis to Sunnis? Have we reached that very horrible situation?
Yeah, well, actually, it is a horrible situation, and actually, parents now changing their schools according to their ethnic groups. This is a true story. But I'm wondering if the UNICEF have any idea about this. This is first, and secondly, is there anything going on by the UNICEF projects to the hot zones? You know, we have hot zones. We have the Sunni Triangle that. What's happening now is very difficult for them, difficult for the parents, difficult for the children, difficult for the teachers. Now, I know schools inside Fallujah and inside Ramadi that are now in houses, not in their schools, because the American forces get into these schools and occupy them.
Let me ask Mr. Wright whether he has... Ahmed, let me ask Mr. Wright whether he can comment on this. Go ahead, Mr. Wright.
Yes, we are trying our best under the difficult circumstances to provide support wherever, hotspots as you call them, or wherever the need is, and perhaps the need is greater there. I'm aware that school or learning opportunities are taking place from residences now, from homes, and these are very dedicated people who are helping in this respect. It's the same also for health facilities. The orthodox health facilities perhaps are not acceptable to be used or in a good enough state to be used by local populations. So again, I'm aware that basic health services have sometimes been provided from homes. Again, I think this is an example of a remarkable sort of coping strategy of Iraqis. No matter how difficult times seem to get, there is an answer. There's still a way to provide the services.
If I may, Mr. Wright, to stop you for just a second and ask you that back in 1980, Iraq received a very important award that illiteracy in Iraq was eradicated. Did sanction between 1990 and 2003 decimated the Iraqi education system?
No, I don't think it was a consequence of the sanctions, and we did, as I said, UNICEF and other agencies have been around inside Iraq, perhaps more inside Iraq in the past years than now, but to help deliver assistance to overcome some of those difficulties, including sanctions. We've just completed a survey during the last year together with the Ministry of Planning and Development Cooperation, and we've got preliminary data. The full report will be launched in January next year, which is only next month. But it does show that the sanctions did not really have too much of a deleterious effect on the education system, more on nutritional status perhaps than education.
Ahmed Rushdi, a final question to you. Is the situation getting better or worse? How children are coping?
Iraqis now, let's say they adopted such harsh conditions, starting from the war with Iran, also the economical sanctions, and ending with the last war. Now, and this meaning, it means that the parents are always concerned with their children's education. Now, what I know and hear in Baghdad, that parents are now make themselves teachers for their own children, and they are making the schools inside the houses.
Yes.
It's not only on the hot zones, also in Baghdad. And I want to say just a last word,
quickly,
a last statement about the sanctions, the economical sanctions. Now, you must be aware that economical sanctions, it means that it is harsh for the children because it is harsh for the parents. That means
Ahmed Rushdi, a media consultant from Baghdad. Thank you very much. Roger Wright of the UNICEF from Amman. Thank you very much. Sadly, Iraqi children aren't alone in facing appalling conditions in the midst of armed conflict. Early in New Year on Al Jazeera, you can watch a series of programs exploring the lives of children living in war zones called Children of Conflict. It starts screening in February. We will take a short break now. Stay with us.